Good morning, students. Hope you are enjoying your holiday. This morning we are going to be looking at the effects of nationalism in Nigeria. Firstly, we have to know, and I've taught you what nationalism is all about. If you can still remember, I said nationalism is the struggle, agitation for self-government. Agitation for self-government. What is self-government? Self-government simply means independence. So in a nutshell, nationalism is all about the struggle, the agitation by the nationalists for self-government of their country. And you discover that nationalist activity do not start earlier in the French West African country, while it was earlier in the British West African countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. And then we have major effects of nationalism in Nigeria. One of the major effects of nationalist activities in Nigeria was political education. What is political education? Political education is all about orientation about the political system, formation of political parties, and the rest of it in a country. Then another one is formation of political parties. Formation of political parties is another major effect of nationalism in Nigeria. Now, during the era of nationalist movement in Nigeria, we have nationalists who started agitation for formation of political parties. And before you know what is happening, political parties started coming up. During the Clifford Constitution of 1922, you discover that that is a constitution that arose the spirit of nationalism in Nigeria. And if you can still remember, I told you that the father of nationalism in Nigeria is Abat Macaulay. Abat Macaulay, who is the father of nationalism in Nigeria, it will be interesting to know that this same Abat Macaulay was the first person that gave us the first political party in Nigeria. And the first political party in Nigeria was NNDP, which is Nigerian National Democratic Party, that was formed in the year 1923. So after the formation of NNDP, we started having emergence of different political parties that were formed by various nationalists who believe in the independence of our great nation Nigeria. We have another political party like NYM, that is Nigerian Youth Movement, that was formed in the year 1928. We have another political party like NCNC, which is the National Council of Nigerian and Cameroon, which later changed name to the National Council of Nigerian Citizens, which was formed in the year 1945 by the same Abat Macaulay. But when Abat Macaulay died, we discovered that Nnamdi Azikiwe became the national president of that political party. And we have various political parties like AG, that's Action Group, which is formed by Obafemi Awolowo, the political party that metamorphosed from Egbe Omo Oduduwa to AG. And we have another political party like NPC, which is Northerners People's Congress, that was formed by the likes of Amadou Bello and Tafawa Balewa. And that is that about formation of political party. All these political parties were agitating for independence in Nigeria. Another major effect of nationalism in Nigeria is formation of newspapers. Newspapers were formed to struggle, to aid the agitation for independence. And one of the foremost newspapers that was formed in Nigeria was the Lagos Daily News, that was formed in the year 1925 by the same Abat Macaulay. And then we have another major effect of nationalism in Nigeria, which is the capitalism for the agitation itself. The capitalism for the agitation itself is independence. The end goal of agitation, the end goal of nationalist activities is independence. What is independence? Independence is freedom. Freedom, that is, there is an adage, or there is a popular saying amidst these nationalists then, that Africa must be controlled by Africa. Africa must be ruled by Africa. The economy of Africa must be controlled by Africans. And that is the major reason why independence was one of the foremost reasons why nationalist activities in Nigeria took from passive to active form in the after the Second World War. Then another major effect of nationalism in Nigeria is emergence of trade union and pressure groups. We started having trade unions who were aiding the activities of the political party to fight against these colonial masters, and pressure groups too, from religious to different organizations that were helping to fight against the colonial masters. And now let's move to achievement of nationalist movement in Nigeria between the year 1945 to 1960. Now, what were the achievements of all these nationalist leaders? When we talk about nationalists, I want you to understand that nationalism is an agitation for independence. Nationalists are the people that are fighting for independence. So, examples of nationalists, we have the likes of Tafawa Balewa. Let's even take a look at it from a broader perspective. Nationalists in Africa, we have, from Nigeria, we have Tafawa Balewa, Ahmadu Bello, Obafemi Awolowo, and Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. We have Julius Kambarage Nyerere of Tanzania. We have Samuel Doe of Liberia, and different nationalists across Africa. So what were the achievements of these nationalist leaders in Nigeria between 1945 to 1960? Number one major achievement they had was training of political leaders. They were able to train political leaders. They were able to recruit different leaders who helped to fight against the error, the shackles and the chains of colonial oppressors. And then another thing is development of political party. As I said earlier on, political parties started developing. From the first political party to the second one to the third one, till we have numerous political parties now in the country. So the beginning of this development started in 1923 with our great nationalist leader, it's Abat Macaulay. And another thing is constitutional development. Between 1945 to 1960, Nigeria has a series of constitutional reforms and development until we gain independence. For instance, the Nigerian Council of 1914 was under the colonial master, and it was under Lord Lugard, who brought indirect rule into Nigeria. And between that time, Nigeria started reforming its constitution. And when you look at constitution itself, I told you what constitution is all about. That constitution is the whole body of fundamental laws, principles, rules, regulations, customs and norms that is guiding the activities of a country or an organization within that country. So when we talk about constitutional development started happening in Nigeria from that Nigerian Council of 1914 down to Clifford Constitution of 1922, down to Richard Constitution of 1946, down to Mapasi Constitution of 1951, to Lincoln Constitution of 1954, till Nigeria gained independence and has its own independence constitution in 1960. And now let's move to independence of Nigeria. Another major achievement of the nationalist leaders in Nigeria was the independence of Nigeria. After Nigeria gained independence, wow, everything the nationalists labored for has been achieved. Because what they were struggling for was the independence, and now the independence has been achieved. So that is one of them. Another thing is establishment of educational institutes. Before you know what is happening, educational institutes started coming up in Nigeria. Because if you are a good student of history, you will discover that prior to the independence of Nigeria, even these foremost nationalist leaders that we have, some of them studied abroad. Like what brought about the formation of Action Group, for instance, that was formed by Obafemi Awolowo, was the Student Association in London. They were the one that comes together and formed the Egbe Omo Oduduwa, which later metamorphosed to become Action Group. And before you know what is happening, institutional bodies started coming up in Nigeria, like Yabatek in Lagos. Then we have another major institution, University of Ibadan. And before you know what is happening, different institutions of technology are coming up in the country to train the people. And then let's move to method used by nationalist leaders to achieve their goal and objective. What were the methods that were used by these nationalist leaders? Number one method that was used is strike and protest. Strike and protest. Now, strike is different from protest. Strike is deliberate withdrawal from work. People withdraw from work, they refuse to go to work again, so that they can drive what they are trying to tell the government. So that the government can know that, oh, this is what we want. If you are not ready to do what we want for us, we will also boycott work. And protest, you see protest all around. People will go out en masse, carry black card, and express their mind to the government. Then the use of the press. Another major method that were used by the nationalist leader was the press. The press are very powerful. The media houses, they help the nationalists to drive their point to the colonial masters. So you started having the emergence of newspapers, Lagos Daily News, to Nigerian pilots, to different ones, until we have a TV station as well, who helps to aid the activities of the newspapers. And then we have various constitutional conferences. Various constitutional conferences were being held. And in these conferences, the nationalists were protesting. They were pointing out what they want to the colonial masters, for them to lose their grip on them and for the nation to be totally independent. From the London Conference of 1951 to the Lagos Conference of 1953, down to many other conferences that were held. From these conferences, the nationalists were making their request known to the colonial masters until the nation was totally free from colonialism. I hope you understand all this. Now let me give you assignment. And the assignment you are going to do for me is that you are going to explain the effect of Second World War on nationalism in West Africa. The effect of Second World War on nationalism in West Africa. How does the Second World War affect nationalism in West Africa? Second World War happens between the year 1939 to 1945. How does this Second World War now affect the agitation for independence in West Africa? Now, another assignment is that we are going to give you reasons why nationalism started in the British West African countries. British West African colonies. When I talk about colony, I'm talking about countries under colonial masters. And why the nationalism started earlier in these British West African colonies like Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. Those were the 4 countries under the British in West Africa. Why nationalism started earlier in these colonies than in the French West African colonies? The French West African colonies, their own nationalist activity do not start earlier. It was delayed. Why was it delayed? You tell me the reason why it was delayed. You give me examples of countries under the French, under the French in the West Africa. Countries like Togo, Niger, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, and the rest of them. So these are the assignments I'm expecting you to give today. Thank you. See you the next time.